Kia ora and welcome. It's lovely to have so many of you here today. We're very acknowledging that we haven't communicated as well as we might, so it's lovely that we are here to share some information and hear your questions tonight. And to start off this update today, I would ask Charlie Rahui to do a karakia for us, and I've asked him to also acknowledge the lives that were lost in the tragedy and share aroha for the families as we move forward, but never forget. Charlie.
Kia ora, good evening everyone. I'm going to do the prayer of the mountain. That's synonymous with this area, and it's recited, so if you just bear with me. The prayer just speaks of trial, tribulation, rise, fall, and resilience. E hika tu ake ki rungara whitiki taua he tamatu kumea ki te uru ea ki te tonga hiki nuku hiki rangi arara ka ngaru e toia ki te hau maranga e kia whakarongo e taku kiri i te kikini o te rehutai o ngā ngaru whati e haruru mai nei wi wā hora hia o mata kia mere tu ahi e hei taki ki te ara kia tangaroa he atua i te tini ki te pō e koko ia e ara e kokiri.
Kia ora. So I'm Jen Schooler, Deputy Mayor and Ward Councillor for Mauao, Mount Maunganui, and tonight we are going to have, I'll do a little welcome and some background, and then we'll have Mayor Mahe Drysdale give us an update, and then we'll ask our team, Marty Grenfell, our CEO, Charlie Rahureri, who is the head of our recovery team, and Emily McLean will talk about some of the activations that are happening in our local and wider region in Tauranga. We're all impacted by the tragedy on Mauao and the closure of Mauao in different ways, and I'd just like to get a feel for the audience we've got here tonight. So how many of you used Mauao, walked around Mauao, walked up Mauao on a reasonably regular basis? That's fabulous. How many of you are from the Mount? From wider Tauranga? From outside of Tauranga? Well, welcome to you all. It's lovely to have you here. And seeing a hand up go from one of my councillors, I apologise, I haven't introduced the rest of the councillors. Hemi Royston is he's going to officiate when we are taking your questions later on this evening. We've got Rod Taylor. We've got Steve Morris. We've got Rick Kurak. Glenn Crowther. Have I missed anyone? And I think Kev is on his way, but he might be in traffic as well. I did bike back from the city tonight, so I didn't get caught in the traffic. So we had a similar meeting hosted by the Mount Business Association last week. Not as many people here, but really acknowledging that they're really suffering financially from those particularly from behind the cordon that were closed for a week. but all of Mount businesses, the data showing that we're nearly 30% down in retail sales and hospitality over the last couple of months. And something that came from that is a question of how do we make sure that we can do this recovery together? How do we ensure that we do that as a community? And it's going to be really important, whatever we do, that we are sharing the actual information about what's happening. We may be able to open some parts of Mauao, but not all of it. And how are we going to jointly together make sure that doesn't mean we have to close it because people do go off tracks? How do we do that together? And that's something that we don't know yet, but we certainly want to work with you all to better understand how we do that. We also talked about how we support the businesses here in the Mount and actually in Tauranga. There are 230,000 people in our small region. How do we make sure we're telling the story that the Mount is open, that Mount Maunganui is open? There's still a beautiful coastal ocean beach walk. There's still wonderful things to do, wonderful places to have coffee, a glass of wine, or to have dinner or lunch. So we need to share that information too a bit more widely around our community. I've been very fortunate in the last few weeks to go to some fantastic activity. Flavours are plenty. We had a sold out show at Saltwater. There was another sold out at Solera. I know there's another few activities. There was a beautiful dawn service. How many went to the dawn service on last Saturday? Wonderful. And these are the community events we just need to keep supporting. There was also a wonderful fundraiser from Tauthara Street. I'm going to ask how many went to the Tauthara Street fundraiser on Sunday. We know that when we set up He Mai Mai Aroha as a place to grieve together, the notes that you as our people, as the community left were so beautiful. People liked to be able to come and just stand and share in the grief. And we want to looking forward, we need a place for those notes and for those messages to go. And that's the part of how we do this as a community that's going to be really important. As I said very earlier on tonight, we haven't communicated as well as we might, but actually at the meeting last week, somebody came up to me and said, Jen, I've emailed you twice and you haven't responded. And I went back to the emails and it was true, but those emails were written within a week of the tragedy, and I have to acknowledge I wasn't managing emails then. This has been the most challenging thing I've ever been through. And I think we need to understand that it's impacting all of us, and the best way to get a recovery of our wonderful Mauao is to do it together, do it as a community, because we want to be able to say, yes, we are going to be able to have Mauao there for us. We are going to be able to welcome you all back. So that's part of the recovery. I'm now going to pass over to Mayor Mahe Drysdale, and he's going to give you more detail on what's actually happening with the recovery. Mahe.
Thank you, Jen, and just want to acknowledge all of you for coming out tonight. It's great to see such a turnout. It's probably not a surprise with how important Mauao is and what a tonga it is to our community. Before I start, I do want to acknowledge the 8 lives that were lost close to 100 days ago, 2 out in Welcome Bay, and obviously the 6 tragically at the Mount. As Jen mentioned, while they are always at the top of mind, we are in a position now where we are starting to recover and move on and go to the next stage. However, we will never forget, and part of the recovery will be trying to find a fitting way to acknowledge what happened on the 22nd of January this year. I just want to acknowledge as well the community and the way that everyone rallied around with the tragedy that happened on Mauao. It was amazing to see the community support immediately after the landslide, supporting the families, supporting each other, and looking after all the emergency services. And I can tell you, the families, the emergency services, and everyone involved certainly could feel the love and the support that they had. I know the first day that things happened, the amount of baking overwhelmed the services, and even they couldn't eat all that was provided to them. So obviously Mauao is a tonga of our city. It is a treasured natural landmark and has deep cultural meaning, and somewhere where a lot of us walk, reflect and connect both with the maunga and each other. Mauao means a lot of different things to different people. As Jen said, we spoke to the business people last week, and to them it is an economic driver. To others, it's the way that we work through our mental or physical health, and for particularly the owners, which are our iwi, it is highly culturally significant. So, I think everyone cares and wants to see Mauao open, and it is pleasing, I guess, that we are working very closely together with the Mauao Trust, and they represent the iwi as owners, and also Napoteri Ao, which is a management group between the Mauao Trust and Tauranga City Council. So everything that we do and everything we say tonight has come from those discussions, working together for the care and love of Mauao. I want to thank you all for your patience, acknowledge that there is some frustration, that it feels like it's taking a long time to recover. Hopefully tonight we can shed some of the light on why it's taking time to recover. We are dealing with a pretty complex situation, and I can tell you I share a number of the frustrations around that time, but we are underway. And as I said, it was pleasing last week to be able to announce that we have got agreement, and we do have a plan for the reopening, and so that's what I want to focus on today. So what do we know? What have we done over the last 3 months? We've been doing a lot of assessments, a lot of understanding, and that's seeing what we're dealing with. We're dealing with 42 slips. 24 of those are either moderate, severe or severe. What does that mean? It means that it's not just clearing the mud and opening the tracks. A number of those have engineering solutions that we're going to have to put in place to ensure the safety, or we can rebuild the tracks. What we do know, it's going to be easier to get up than it is to get around. We have a plan to get up, and the work starts on Monday next week. And the machines and the people will be there from Monday as they start remediating and repairing the damage that has been done. We still have a significant ongoing. We have a significant and ongoing risk during rain and weather events. So. That's why we've got Adams Ave that occasionally closes in those weather events. That is because what has happened since is we've got what we call a trigger action response plan. So that means that on a day like this, generally it's quite safe around Mauao, but when it rains and for the trigger action response is 100 mil of rain in 24 hours, or 150 mils of rain in 3 days, or the expectation that is coming. If that happens, the advice is that there is a chance of a landslide running out onto Adams Ave, so therefore we need to close it. So that's what we're dealing with. That's why the Pilot Bay boat ramp is also closed, because it's within that TARP zone. As I say, on a day like this, it's quite safe, but in certain conditions we need to do things like close the road to try to protect the safety. So that is at the very much the top of our mind is safety, and it will become our priority. So what we're trying to do is open things as quickly as we possibly can with the safety consideration. So I'll go into a little bit more detail of where we are at the moment. What we're also undertaking, the TARP, if you like, is the short-term mitigation to make sure that we keep people safe. The long-term mitigation is something else. What we're doing at the moment is what we call a quantitative landslide risk assessment. Now what that's going to do is it's going to tell us in a quantitative sense what is the risk at various places throughout the campground and around the hot pools. That will allow us to make some firm decisions about the future of those two parts. And what it will do is it will say, for example, there's a 1 in 100,000 chance of a landslide hitting someone in this area and killing them effectively is sort of what we're looking at. And then we can make decisions, what would the mitigations be to ensure that is actually safer than 1 in 100,000 or 1 in a million, whatever it is, and what are those mitigations, how much do they cost, and do we still have viable businesses, for example. So one of the things we are looking at the moment is bunds. And so at the moment you'll see we've got containers all along Adams Ave. So we're just looking at the moment, could we put a earth mound effectively in place instead of the containers that would mean even in rain events we wouldn't have to close Adams Ave. So those are the sort of mitigations that we're looking at. That would potentially extend to the Pilot Bay boat ramp. If we could get a bund up there that would also protect that area, we could open that. Our challenge is going to be, so that the earthworks, as I say, start on Monday. As I say, the plan to the top is not that hard. It's about 8 to 12 weeks, depending on weather. We think we could have that open. The challenge is getting people safely from Adams Ave onto the Maunga, which at the moment you go through a landslide run-out zone. So, that's the sort of things that we're managing, and why we don't have timeframes, unfortunately, is because we simply do not know exactly how we're going to mitigate or get people up there safely. But as soon as we do, we're happy to share that information. I think what we can say is the summit will be months away. The base track, out of those 42 slips, 29 of those affect the base track. We still don't have a plan as to exactly how we're going to remediate all those. That's the ongoing work right now. But again, once we have that, my estimation, as I say, we don't have a plan yet, is that's more like closer to a year away. But obviously the summit we will open, when we can do that safely, and that's more likely to be months away. That's sort of a very brief rundown of what we're doing. At this stage, we don't have exact timeframes. The quantitative landslide risk assessment will be done. We're expecting to get that in July. That will certainly help inform around what happens at the campground and the hot pools. As I said, 8 to 10 weeks. We think we could potentially get people to the summit, but it's dependent on weather, and it's making sure that once they actually start work that those timeframes are realistic. But that's very much what we're trying to do, is do that as quickly as we can safely. As we've said, we've heard from the businesses, it's such an economic driver. We know how much you guys are all itching, like we are, to get back and enjoy that connection. So we are working hard, and we know the single biggest thing we can do is get that open as quickly as possible, because that is the best thing we can do to support those local businesses, to support all of you, to support our economy. So that is very much our focus, and that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, and then I just want to go through some of those other parts. We've sort of spoken about the boat ramp. We've spoken about the Adams Ave and looking at some of those mitigations. Obviously the hot pools in Holiday Park is a little bit further away until we can make some good decisions on that. The Mounts Maunganui Surf Lifesaving Club, the red sticker, the reason there was a red sticker on that was because of the risk of landslide hitting that building. The updated tarp that we got showed that was no longer in the run-out zone, which from a council perspective, that building is safe to occupy. We have therefore removed the red sticker, so that has now got a white sticker on it. That doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily be occupied tomorrow. That's been handed back to the Surf Lifesaving Club. Their board will make independent decisions as to when they feel that it's safe to occupy. So, that's the sort of balancing act, I guess, we're going through. Is trying to understand what is our role, what is other people's role, and do that. So, that's very much where we've got to, I guess, with all those different facilities. So, as I said before, what we have done, we have supported through the Merrill Fund some of those businesses that were directly impacted and closed by the cordons. That's generally the businesses that are under the Oceanside Towers and along Adams Ave. We acknowledge the support of central government contributing to the Merrill Fund, as well as all those individuals that have also donated to that. That has helped us support those businesses, as well as other individuals and people that were affected by the landslides, as well as some of the families that were affected. We also acknowledge there's a number of events that have raised money, and Totara Street that we heard about. Betty Munro fundraiser, as well as Fisher, all raised money directly for the families, and thank you for all that have donated. What we heard very much from the businesses, and I'm sure you guys will all agree, is we can do better on our communication. I guess we have been slow because we haven't had a lot of information to share. And the last couple of weeks, we've put out what we have got and what we will know. What we did hear from the businesses is actually, even if you've got no information, at least tell us what you know, and we're happy to do that. And that's what tonight's about. I don't want to talk for too long, much longer, because I've hopefully given you as much information as we know. But if there's any specific questions later, that's what this is about, is you guys to ask us questions. There is no secrets. We'll share what we know. We've still got some real challenges, and trying to manage that risk and trying to make things safe. As Jen sort of alluded to, there is a role the community plays. When we open it, it's not going to be 100% safe, in the fact that there's going to be a working zone. The base track, for example, is not going to be safe, and people have a tendency to go and try to run barriers and go where they shouldn't. So the community is going to have to play their part and enforce that, because the last thing we want to do is open and close it because we're putting people at risk. So that's just a responsibility from our community. We're going to be opening things, and we're going to take some chances, I guess, that we can trust people and they will do the right thing, and we just hope that everyone will follow that. Thankfully, people have respected the cordon fairly well. We have had a few idiots trying to jump fences and break the cordon. That's not helpful to anyone. So as we open and we bring the manga back, it's very important that people do sort of follow and stay in the safe areas. As I said, very much going forward, we want to keep communicating. Our priority is very much, creating that clarity and certainty around when things are happening. As soon as we have those decisions, it is a complicated, I guess, decision-making process, because it's not our manga. It is owned by iwi, and it is controlled, I guess, or managed by Mauao Trust. So we have to work alongside them, we've got to respect the cultural aspects of opening, as well as managing the physical remediation. But when we have that agreement and those decisions, we will communicate as soon as we can to keep you updated with what's going on. Just in closing, just want to reiterate, we understand how important Mauao is for this community, to all of us, and our personal connections to him. So it's it is significant. We are committed to opening it as soon as we can, to do that safely. We know the community has ideas, and we're happy to hear that. As we said, we won't be able to make a decision on the campground for the next couple of months. So this is an opportunity for us. Is that the best use of Mauao? Is there things that we could do there that maybe we haven't thought about or we could do? We might find the quantitative risk analysis says that actually it's not a great business if you've got a campground that you've got to evacuate 12 times a year. That maybe that isn't a viable business. So let's start thinking about some of the other things that we could use it for. The hot pools from the flip side is easier, because if you have to close it 12 days a year, it's not such an inconvenience. If you thought you were going to the hot pools and you can't go that day, you can come back the next day, when it is safer. So those are just some of the sort of challenges I guess we've got between that. Just reiterate, when we have information to share, we will share it. It'll be on our community pages on our website. We've also got the email list if you want to sign up to Let's Talk Tauranga, and that we send out some of the details of what's going on. But thank you again for coming along tonight, for sharing. And hopefully later we'll get lots of questions and we can answer most of those before you go. I just tell you there's a lot of information on the website. We've tried to be as transparent as we can. You can see all the geotech reports that have been done on Mauao over the last 30 years. You can see a whole lot of decisions that have been made around the manga. There's as much information as we can share. We've got obviously very committed to the review that we're doing, and Paul Davison KC is making good progress on that. We expect a draft report in the next month or so, and that will help inform us. Did we do everything that we could or should have in the circumstances that happened? And I'm just telling you straight, as a governor, I never want to go through a situation like that. So I can assure you that the recommendations that Paul makes, we will act swiftly, and we will make the changes that we need to ensure that we don't get ourselves in a position like that. Because I can tell you, like Jen, that was certainly one of the hardest weeks of my life as well, as we were waiting for the return of those families. So that's very much where we're at. Look forward to coming back and answering your questions later. And I'm not sure who's handing over to Hemi. Or is Marty? Welcome our CE, Marty.
Thank you, Mauao. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here tonight. Particular welcome to Cameron Luxon and Tom Rutherford, our local MPs. So apart from being the Chief Executive here at Tauranga City Council, my wife and I are proud residents and ratepayers of the Mount, and we love and enjoy everything that the Mount offers in terms of lifestyle and experience. So tonight I'm going to speak generally about the event and the impact across the city, and then I'll hone in and reiterate some of the messages that the Mayor's already given you, and then Emily will speak to how we're working with the business community and the wider community to support the recovery efforts. So over a 36-hour period on the 21st of January and the 22nd of January, nearly 300 millimetres of rain fell in a very short period of time. Rainfall that this community hasn't seen for many, many years, in fact decades. So the weather event caused significant damage to infrastructure and services across the city. So it impacted on our transport networks, our drinking water, wastewater, and obviously our stormwater systems. There was damage to private property and to public spaces. Numerous landslides, in fact, over 50 landslide assessments were conducted across the city, and that's on top of the 42 that we had on Mauao. So our immediate response focused on public safety, addressing and restoring the services and the access to our streets and public spaces. There's a lot of tree clearing and debris that we needed to clear. We assessed a lot of properties that were damaged, and obviously the land stability issues were things that we had to assess across the city. 4 buildings were red stickered, and those 4 buildings, 2 of them were in the campground, the surf club, and also the other building was obviously the hot pools. 17 buildings were yellow stickered, and that meant that access to those buildings was restricted. A small number of those landslides that impacted across the wider city were still working with residents and communities to monitor that land and to ensure that people are safe to stay within those houses. There was a range of welfare support requirements that the council had to attend to. This included temporary accommodation, food, medical services and clothing. Limited financial assistance that the Mayor's already alluded to, and that was funded via central government and the Mayoral Relief Fund. So there's ongoing geotech assessments right across the city and in particular to the Mount. We've established a dedicated recovery team. Charlie Rahuri, who's on stage, who will speak a wee bit later, has been appointed as the dedicated recovery manager leading that team. So I'm going to now just focus a wee bit more on the Mount, on Mauao and the work that we're doing there. So it's got a little video that we're going to play. There's no sound, so I'll just speak throughout. So obviously the event triggered a significant event that impacted on the campground and right, we're away, yep. And obviously the tragedy and the 6 lives that were lost. So advice obviously has been that the Mount and those associated facilities aren't safe for the public to access. The TARP or the mechanism that we're using to manage the area around that location is something that's been in place, and that's been triggered a couple of times with subsequent road closures of Adams Ave. And so what we're working on at the moment is this funding mechanism, which, assuming we go forward and put that in place, it'll provide a medium-term option which will alleviate the need for us to open and close that during those weather events. We have worked with the Mauao Trust and Napo Tirio, which is the management group, the management board that oversees the administration and the physical works on the Mount. And we've developed a recovery plan, a remediation plan with the Mauao Trust. So that plan has been adopted, it's been agreed to by council and the trust, and as of Monday next week, physical works will start on the Mount to remediate particularly the summit track in the first instance. So in particular, there are a number of slips around the water reservoir which need to be addressed, and there's a large toma, essentially a large water tracked path which provides essentially it's a hole under the ground where water travelled and created cavities, and so all of that work will need to be done before we can access and provide both four-wheel drive and walking access to the top. So when we talk about the summit track, we're talking about all the tracks, the summit track network. And apart from the Pilot Bay access, we also need to be able to provide access from the ocean beach side. Now, if you have seen on the video, or if you wander along the main beach there, you'll see that there's a significant fall that impacted access from the beach side. And so assuming that all things go well, we're expecting that work to take about 3 months. Now in the background we're working with the Mauao Trust who, on behalf of iwi, govern and own the maunga. And so we're working with the Trust in the background to try and coordinate completion of the works, appropriate safety plans about when the mount will be available and accessible by the public. So the base track's a different story. There are large slips with significant trees, massive pahutakawas, where the initial work around the base is going to be essentially clearing those large trees and then trying to clear the debris to understand what damages to the track. We expect that that's going to take a much longer period, and it'll be probably a secondary focus to providing access to the summit. So other things, obviously, we've got 4 inquiries going on at the moment. We have the police inquiry who not only are doing a police inquiry to understand whether there's any criminal liability in the first instance, but also they'll be acting and reporting on behalf of the coroner. Secondly, we have WorkSafe who will be looking at the actions of those involved in managing, owning and operating facilities in and around the mount to understand whether or not each of those organisations acted appropriately. And then we have the external review that has been commissioned by the Mayor and Councillors to understand the organisation, TCC or Tauranga City Council's response in relation to the event. And lastly, we have an independent government inquiry underway. So to date, the city has spent somewhere in the order of about $2.5 million on the process of managing the event and the recovery efforts. We're expecting that number to climb to about $4.5 million this financial year, so that's to the end of June. Council have indicated at this stage and put in the draft budget for next year somewhere in the order of $6 million to cater for what might be physical remediation works on the wider mount itself. Obviously the reviews and all of the documents that we trawled through, somewhere in the order of 160 or 70,000 documents we've retrieved from our document management system. They've all been considered and assessed and understood whether or not they're relevant to this event, and many of those documents have been released publicly on our website, so the Mayor's alluded to the public information. So if you're interested in geotech reports, the history of the maunga, what we know about it, assessments that have been done, you can recover all that information off our website. As part of this process, there's legal costs. As part of those legal costs, we've spent somewhere in the order of $800,000 as an organisation to not only trawl through, recover and release that information, but there are a range of other activities that the lawyers are supporting the organisation and the city through as well. So look, the QLRA process the Mayor's already alluded to, that process has been used elsewhere across the Bay of Plenty historically where there's been situations like this, and the future use of land is considered. So the risk of life is considered, and then not whether it's feasible to, if you like, build our way and protect against that risk of life. A good example was in Matata back in 2005. There was a big debris slide down there that impacted on about 20 houses. This QLRA process was used at that point to understand whether or not physical works could mitigate against future risk. In that situation, it was considered that the cost of actually doing those physical works was not feasible. And in that situation, that little community retreated. We did a similar exercise 2 years ago, 3 years ago, following the anniversary floods in Mangatapu, it was, yes, Mangatapu. There was about 5 houses there where we went through this QLRA process. In that situation, we ended up, I think, buying 2 properties, and we were able to remediate and enable families to stay in three of those 5 properties. So, look, there's a wee bit of a snapshot of what's happened across the city since the event, the impact that it had, the response of the city to that, and now I'll ask Emily to talk about how we're working with our communities and businesses. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. And maybe as I get settled, I've noticed there's about 6 seats at the front here, 6 or 7 seats. So anyone who would like to adjust your position, I really don't mind as I'm speaking. Please don't be shy. So my name's Emily McLean. I've been asked to support the Recovery Office, looking after, I guess, a work stream focused on things that perhaps aren't about repairing the physical damage. We do know that it's about restoring confidence, about restoring connection and momentum for residents, visitors, businesses, and everyone who values Mauao and the Mount as a place to live, gather, and belong. So my update is really around recovery across the community and the local economy and the places that we like to use. Feel free to come on in. So key priority remains working towards a safe reopening, as you've heard. We know that Mauao is central to our identity here, and that it matters because this affects how locals feel about their place. It shapes visitor confidence and destination perception, and it also underpins tourism and economic recovery across the Mount. You've heard tonight that this work is complex, it needs to be carefully sequenced, and that safety has to be foundational and at the centre of what we're doing. I'll leave that there. So while access remains restricted, we're working towards other ways to keep people connected to Mauao and to each other, even when they can't physically access the summit. So this includes exploration into what activations and events will celebrate the Mount's identity and stories, using the remaining public spaces around the base of Mauao and along the coast to support gathering, movement and shared experiences, and ensure that recovery activity reflects the importance of Mauao as a taonga. So this is the area of focus as recovery for us shifts from the immediate response towards a longer term social and community wellbeing. I have to say some of those efforts have been challenging in the face of our regular weather events. You wouldn't have known it from this beautiful week, but I have to say every time we start to look towards the future and what this place can become, we're pulled back into emergency road closures. So it hasn't been all plain sailing. I guess the key message we're trying to get out there, and I think you'll appreciate this, is that the Mauao or the Maunga might be closed at the moment, but the Mount is open. So despite this challenge, the challenges we face, we want to be clear that the Mount is open. So over the last few months, our Deputy Mayor referred to some of the events she's attended recently. We've had strong momentum. So we've had a lot of participation through events like the New Zealand Schools Triathlon, the Mara Triathlon, which I heard 3 councillors did very well in, the Mount Swim, Flavours of Plenty events, and the King and Queen of the Mount Run. We've had national events, national level events, such as the Skateboarding Nationals that showed off our new skate park. We've also had local community activations, including the car club events, daffodil planting, markets and free live music. And really thrilled to see some of our key partners in the room, including the Mount Business Association, who are responsible for those beautiful red cars. These have attracted hundreds and sometimes thousands of people into the Mount, supporting foot traffic, local atmosphere and visitor confidence. So looking ahead, we've got things to look forward to. Things like we run the night half marathon in early May, which expects 1,600 people who like to run in the dark. Amazing. And it is a clear message that the Mount continues to be active, to be welcoming and to be worth visiting. That's not all. So alongside events and recovery planning, council is continuing to invest in the Mount as a place, improving everyday spaces that people use and value. So the current work underway includes some new interpretation and wayfinding signage along Marine Parade, just to lift the already amazing work that the boardwalk has contributed. New public art also planned along that pathway. We're progressing the Hopakuri playground upgrade, which responds directly to community feedback. And we're also planning for the toilet facility upgrade in the Potatakataka toilet park in Mount Main Street. So these projects will support the broader recovery story by making the Mount easier to move around, as I said, more welcoming and enjoyable. We think it's also a signal of that kind of ongoing confidence and the long-term commitment to the area, which I know we're all after. So as a couple have alluded to, business recovery has been really strong in the recovery focus. So as I said, we've been working with our local partners to do what we can to support local businesses. It hasn't always felt like we've been able to do enough, but we've been doing what we can. We've worked with the Tauranga Business Chamber, with Tourism Bay of Plenty, to provide things like navigation to support services. We have some strong advocacy, as you can imagine, moving up into central government. And again, just pushing hard to see what we can do. The work is ever evolving. So I just wanted to reiterate as I finish, I guess some of the Mayor's sentiments that, and also the Deputy Mayor, that recovery in the Mount is something we all have a role in, and it's not just the work of council. So event organisers, government agencies will all help us and partner with us, but it also relies on the everyday choices of you, of our community and of visitors. So we need you to continue to support local businesses. Please show up to events. Someone's got to beat Jen at the game. Using local services, encouraging others to do the same, it really does make a real difference. We need more foot traffic, we need local spending, and being here, participating with us, asking us the questions will all help in building that confidence going forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Kia ora everybody and good evening. As Deputy Mayor Jen introduced me, Hemi Rolliston, Councillor in Tauranga. Many connections, and as I was driving here tonight, looking at Mauao and wishing I could have been climbing there in sunset tonight, most like all of you. So I have special connections to Mauao. I think I might have climbed it probably 3 times every week as my gym. And as a proud descendant of Tauranga Moana, I guess by that fact I'm a proud owner as well. But it's also my meeting place, my spiritual connection, the Maori stone up there, and to everybody it's special. So so I was driving here tonight. I was wishing I was driving to go and climb that maunga. At the last meeting, I was the MC, and I think I'm like half the MC now because we're nearly finished, and now I'm the MC. And then I'm now going to tell you about the health and safety and what happens. And just as well, nothing happened at the beginning because we're halfway through. And you know, but oh, good. If there's if there is an emergency, if we all go down the stairs and head out. Don't take the lift, walk down the stairs. If you need some help, put your hand up and the Mayor will carry you. One of the other councillors might do that as well, but and we'll get you out of here safely tonight. So it's a privilege, as I say. My main job is, as I said last week, when you're MC an event like this, you've got 3 things. Make everybody leave a lot clearer than when they walked in, so hopefully some of the information you're getting and you're still going to get throughout the night, you're going to appreciate. Secondly, It runs on time and everyone gets to have their say. Well, we're about 15 minutes behind already, so I'm sort of not quite on target for that, and you are going to have your say. And thirdly, when you leave, you know what the next steps are. So that's sort of my job tonight. And so we've pretty much had all of the presenters. We've got one other important presenter from the Mauao Trust to give you the principles of reopening for the Mauao Trust. And then I'm going to facilitate some question and answer. And before I do that, and before I invite Jack Thatcher up to come and speak, just we'll have a roving mic. Please put your hand up. We'll try and there's a lot of people in the room, so we're going to do our best. We're aiming to be done by 7, and we're going to have a cup of tea, and each of the councillors brought a packet of biscuits, so we didn't know how many people there are. Lucky some of us brought 2. And I left mine in the car, and I drew the right short straw, and I bought Councillor Crowther's and the Deputy Mayor's biscuits. So after this, I'm going to race out and get 6 packets of biscuits. But with that, so prepare your questions, introduce yourself. We'll get to you. We do have some other people. We've had lots of introductions, but we have Tourism Bay of Plenty here. We have their Chief Executive, Oscar. We have BVL and Bay Venues Limited, obviously the hot pools sit under there, and we have their CEO, Chad, there at the back, and we also have our key leaders from Mount Main Street or Mount Business Association, Joe and Jay, so I want to mihi to you. And if you want to have questions with them later, they'll be available as well. So my next job is to introduce, as you've heard, lots of kōrero about the role of the Mauao Trust. So I'm going to ask Jack Thatcher, one of the members of the Mauao Trust, to come and share some of his thoughts on Mauao. Kei a koe.
Kia ora tātou. Firstly, apologies. I had some other business on that was supposedly at 5 a.m. I pushed it to 4, thinking that would give me heaps of time to get here at 6, and totally got my timings wrong. But at least I'm here now. I suppose in terms of Mauao, the Mauao Trust are representatives of the iwi, whom are the owners of the mount itself. And our trust was set up in and around 2012. It was actually earlier than that, but formally around 2012. And 2014, I believe, we entered into a partnership with the council in terms of the management of the mountain itself. The council already had that. When the mountain was given back to iwi in 2006, the Act said that the council would control all of the management of the mountain itself. As the iwi at that time had no money, so that's one of the I suppose positions that we have in terms of how the mountain is looked after. Now, in terms of forming the Mauao Trust was to act as governance for the mountain. So anything that happened on the mountain had to be agreed to by the Mauao Trust. Anything from the likes of people wanting to put cable cars and all those sorts of things up there, well, we didn't agree with those. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are probably happy with the fact that they don't have to run past those things to get to the top. Little tongue in cheek there, but that's the position. So today, actually not today, just going back to the slide, the slip that happened, and those poor unfortunates that were caught in that slip. The Mauao Trust took it upon ourselves to be there from day one. I was actually down investigating the slips that were on the southern side of the mountain. And when we came back, we were about 10 minutes late and getting there in time for not really in time, after the slip had happened. So we were there and stunned like everybody. And as a representative of the trust, when the police arrived, I offered our assistance with our kaitiaki that were already on the mountain, And we were there for the full breadth of the response by the rescue services. First, the FENS people from Foreign Emergency, New Zealand, and then when the police took over, when it became obvious there were no survivors. And we were there through that time. It was very emotional for everyone. And we offered spiritual guidance for everybody that was working in that space, and continue to do so. So in the aftermath of that, we've been working alongside the council to, I suppose, work on a plan to remediate all of the slips on the Maunga. I think there's 42 of them. I've been on 3 recce's around the Maunga to check out the slips, and they are significant. And many of you won't have been able to see that except through the photos that you're seeing, or if you have a boat and have been able to go around and see that firsthand. But it is it's emotionally charged for those people that have to go out and look over the slips, all of them. The most visible one, obviously, is that one that took those lives, but there are others, and there are others that are bigger or of the same size. And just coming to understand I suppose, the full breadth of what's in front of us in terms of making the Maunga safe so that people can return there is a priority. But the first priority is safety. And that's what we're doing. We're working together with the council to make a plan that's as safe as possible, to put workers on there to do that work and to do it as quickly as we can. But we won't, at any stage, make any, I suppose, other decisions except for those that include the safety of everyone. And that includes those people that are walking on the Maunga afterwards. Now, we are talking about opening up a single track. I don't know whether that's the right thing to do. As you know, you might already know, there's over 1 million people walk the tracks every year. That amounts to about 3,000 people a day on the mountain. If we open one track and we've got 3,000 people on that one track, that's going to be it's going to be quite crowded, and it won't actually be safe. So we have to think about all of these things as we're working towards bringing back our mountain to the people that have a connection and dearly want the mountain opened. We all want that. And so I'm here to just to, I suppose, support the council in all of the efforts to make a safe return for everyone to the mountain, and that's our position. We still haven't gotten all the plans in yet, but we have things like CIA's, I forget what that's called, cultural something impact reports. Yes, that's the one. And of course the guys, the WSP guys that are monitoring the mountain itself, and they're doing all their tech stuff to make sure that it's safe for us to get on there to do the work. So I suppose just to let you know that that we'll be working with the aim of opening up as soon as we safely can. I don't have much more to say than that, but it's wonderful to see so many people here, concerned as you are, for the mountain and for Tauranga itself. We have to remember it's not just the mountain that was affected by the storm. We also have those 2 unfortunate people that passed in Welcome Bay, and we need to think about all of those as we're going through all of this remedial work for the Mount, for Welcome Bay, for Papamoa, for Maunga Tapu, for every other place that's been highly affected. And I'm sure that we're all agreed that the sooner we get to that work, the better. Kia ora tātou.
Whose phone is, their texts are on here. Who left their phone up here? I'm reading your messages.
Sorry, I actually got my notes on here.
Oh.
I never followed them at all.
Bit like me. Tēnei te mihi ki a koe, Jack. Me te rōpū o Mauao Trust. Mo te mana o te maunga o Mauao. So just want to acknowledge Jack and the Mauao Trust, but particularly like Jack and others. And I guess in a sad way, I was privileged to be within the cordon and to see the work that the people like Jack is there to comfort the families and to comfort the workers and to go through that process is something we wouldn't never all want on anybody, but to have the likes of the guardians and like Jack and others there was very special. And I know the families and others, which is why it was also a request for people like Jack to attend one of the big funerals in Rotorua. So those moments, although, as I said, a privilege and really sad, I just want to acknowledge people like Jack and others that were doing it on the first sign of light in the morning before the workers went in to the end of the night when they had to stop. So, and there's a number of us that were privileged to be alongside that. I also had the privilege to do one of the walks with Jack around the maunga. So those pictures, I've seen it, you know, again, heartbreaking to walk around there, but just the devastation and to see it firsthand gives us a bit of a context of what we're dealing with, but we've got the right people doing the right mahi. And I also am privileged to be the Deputy Chair of Ngā Pou Tiri Ao, so that's the joint management between the Mauao Trust appointees and the Council. So I'm privileged to be sitting there, and that Mauao Trust work, all their people that sit on there are volunteers that are doing extra and beyond. So it's a privilege to be part of this journey that we're going on. So that's, I think that's all our speakers tonight. So it's your turn to ask questions. I've got told that I'm not allowed to answer any questions. I just got to tell the person who's going to answer. So that's a cool ass job, eh? My job is to know who's got the answers. And Sarah has got the mic. And so, as I said, we're going to do our best to let everybody have a say tonight. Please be respectful. I know you will be, but I'll just give you a little reminder. Introduce yourself with your question, and my job is to find the right person to answer your question. Thank you. Got one there, Sarah, far back. Yep.
Just make sure this is working.
Thank you, Councillor Rolliston, and it's very pleasing to hear all the progress that is happening. John Douglas is my name, long-term resident of the Mount. Been climbing the Mount, going around the Mount for the last 46 years, but most importantly to me, I've been launching my boat at Pilot Bay boat ramp. Now, Mayor Drysdale, you mentioned that there is a formula in place for the closing of Adams Avenue. I think when it's predicted to have rainfall of more than 100 millimetres in a 24-hour period, or 150 millimetres. So my first question is, why can't that formula apply to the Pilot Bay boat ramp? I can assure you I never go boating when there's forecast to be 100 millimetres of rain in 24 hours or a cyclone coming. There are a few, and they're the ones probably most affected, are the Matakana surfers that use that ramp all the time when there is a good swell. But I don't understand why you cannot open the Pilot Bay boat ramp today using the same formula as that for Adams Avenue closure. And just to explain, I still regularly walk around Adams Avenue and swim in Pilot Bay, and I can't help but notice that soon after the landslide, there were 3 porta cabs planted in the car parking area right beside the boat ramp. And I notice people having morning tea and afternoon tea in and around those porter cabs. And I also notice council vehicles, security staff vehicles, and wardens' vehicles parked in that area, which supposedly is dangerous. When I launch a boat, I come in, launch my boat, park my car and trailer, and I've gone within 5 minutes. Frankly, if there's a landslide comes down and takes my car and boat trailer out, that's a risk I'm willing to take, and I'm sure all the other boaties here are willing to take. Just secondly, briefly, I'm very pleased that the plan is to open the track to the mount as soon as possible. My big fear, and various speakers have alluded to it, is how do you do that with people, to stop people wandering off trail. Now, my biggest fear is walking up that track, and I used to do it regularly, and having barbed wire fencing on either side of the track, just be an eyesore. Prior to the landslide, there were many risks on Mauao. You could fall off tracks. If you went up there in rain, you could slip down hillsides. To an extent, we regulate our own risk. Until the landslide, you have trusted us users of the mount not to wander off trail. Some people will, but the risk is there. I'm sorry, I'm going on too long. But so I address that to Mayor Drysdale.
Thank you. I'll start with the second one. Look, it will be a high trust model that we trust people will do the right thing, and I think, as you say, it's self-regulating. So if you decide to go off track, don't expect to be rescued if you get yourself in trouble. But obviously we will have fencing, etc., to stop those honest people not running the fences, and we just ask the community to please abide by that. The Pilot Bay off boat ramp, yes, and I share your sentiments, and I've asked the question many a time. During the recovery effort, we had USAR, who are the Urban Search and Rescue Team, parked in their big truck right on the Pilot Bay boat ramp. That was before the TARP was developed, and the TARP, it's very much in the zone. But what I can assure you, we've got a meeting with the engineer from WSP on Monday, and we will be asking those questions, understanding exactly what we have to do. As I said, if we can't open it without some mitigations in place, we'll certainly be looking at those mitigations as soon as possible. But from here, obviously, as we've sort of shared with you tonight, things are starting to happen, and we've certainly sent the direction from governors that we've got agreement. You've heard from Jack tonight that we're both saying the same thing. We want to get things open as quickly as possible. We understand that people want to be able to use it. We want to get back to as much normalcy as possible. So we will open them. But on the flip side, we don't want to go against the professional advice we had. But absolutely, our job is to understand that advice and understand that on a beautiful day like this, is it safe to use that boat ramp? What are the risks of that, and could we open it like we can Adams Ave? And that's absolutely, as I sort of alluded to, we're also looking at the bunding option, which potentially takes away some of the risk and allows us to open more. So those are all discussions, and as I say, as soon as we have those answers, we'll let you know. But if we can open it safely, we'll do that as soon as we can.
Over far wall here, yep.
It's a big room.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Trevor Hosey. I've been a resident here for 72 years, and one of the qualifications that I got was in volcanology at Waikato University. The question I have is to Jack and Hemi. Do you think it's appropriate that our sacred Mauao has sheep running around on it? Wouldn't it be better if that part of the mountain that has been utilised as a farm was actually planted in native trees, which would secure the land, the soil, a lot more proficiently?
Yes, I've often wondered why we have so much sheep on the Maunga. I do love a lamb, but the lamb and the sheep are on the mountain basically just to keep the grass down while it's there. And yes, we have a program called Te Korawai o Mauao. It is a trust, a Mauao trust program of replanting, and our intention is to return as much of the Maunga back into native trees and fauna. Flora, and and fauna as well, as if they all come, which has, whilst we haven't had too many people on there, there's a lot more birds going around. Yeah, I agree with you, and just reaffirming that it is a part of our dream to reforest the mountain as it used to be. So that is part of our plan. Kia ora.
Yeah, we got anyone? And I'm not allowed to answer questions, but you asked me, and I agree with Jack. Not only sheep, we want to get rid of the rabbits because I think they'll be running wild by now. They'll be having a field day. And I think the main thing, and I think the Mayor talked on it, these things that if we do them with the community. These kaupapa or these community projects, if there are going to be the sheep off there more planting, there will, community planting days. I know that's happened in the past. Sorry, Sue, here you go.
Kia ora, my name's Susan Hodkinson. I've lived here for over 70 years also. My question is, where's the boundary of Mauao, the summit, and Mount Maunganui, the town? Is it at the end on the mountain of the campground? Is it the road that goes up to where the Harbour Board pilot wharf was? Where's the boundary? I've never known, and I think it's quite relevant.
Thanks, Sue. The Maunga itself is essentially the boundary of that, and the portion, the reserve that's owned by the Mauao Trust is essentially at the base of the mountain itself. The campground is in a different land parcel, and so that's essentially, you've got boundaries there, and then you've got the road frontage, the road parcel, and then you've got private land. So there's maps probably on our website. We can make sure that those maps are on our website. But essentially there are different land parcels in different ownership. So, and at the foot of at the base of the mount, essentially is where the first boundary is, and that distinguishes the Maunga itself from the campground. So.
Cool. Another question up at the front? Oh no, go on to the back.
May I start? Kia ora and warm aura to everyone. Namaste. It's me, Susovan Devkota Sandesh. And as a mayor said, like track A is closed due to safety reason. And what if we open another track and do one-way traffic, like go up to the mount and come back in the same way? If we put all the resources and the resources that everyone have in one track, and it will be faster. Like if everyone work opening one track, like go up to the mount with a track and come back with a track, it will be faster maybe. In my region, what's your thoughts? Who is responsible for that? Thank you.
Yes, thanks for the question. So that's an option. If we can't open up the ocean side access to create, if you like, a loop track, up and down the same track is an option. That might restrict the numbers that can use it in any one particular day, but it's an option we're exploring.
Okay, so next one in the middle. Yep. Thank you. Right behind you, I think. Yeah, go.
Good evening. Thank you for having this meeting. My name's Mari. Now, I've got two questions. The first one is, are the local iwis part of the Mauao Trust?
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Great. Okay, the second one is, who's paying for this? Is it the council? Is it the trust? Or is it a combination?
Sorry, paying for?
Paying for the remediation of tracks, for the work that has to be done. Is it coming out of our rates, or are we sharing this cost?
It's a money question. The mayor's passed it to me. At this stage, the city is paying for it. So we have a reserve for hazards, disasters, and so over the years gone by, a reserve has built up to pay for events like this. It's not a massive reserve, and it's likely to be expired reasonably quickly. We're working with central government. Obviously, this is an event of national and international significance, and the government have indicated that they're willing to support. And our loyal trust, TECT, have also indicated that they want to be part of the recovery effort and contribute to any costs that the city will incur in repairing and remediating the tracks.
Thank you. Michael Ozier. Two things. The first is a lot of what we think about and say is we're doing out of ignorance. I've seen the picture there that shows a couple of slips on the road up, which a working bee with a wheelbarrow and a shovel would deal with. I've tried to get pictures from the council of all the slips and things, the 42 slips, but I can't find them online. Are they online? Is there a video flyover of the going up the road that we can see? Because if we could see all this, we wouldn't be so grumpy about it all. And then the other thing is you now have your slip monitoring system set up with your tarps. So as the first questioner said, the boat ramp, well, why not? And for that reason also, much of the motor camp on a limited basis could have campers in there right now. All you have to do is when it rains, you tell them to bugger off, as you should have done on the day of the event. But it's quite simple. It's not rocket science. Thank you.
Is it working? Yeah. So that video that you saw, whilst that doesn't show all of the slips, that should be available on our website. So there should also be another geotech report or an assessment report of every single slip on there as well. If it's not on there, we'll make sure it is loaded on there so everybody can see what's in front of us. And so in terms of the other comments about reoccupying and using those facilities, there's a process that we'll work through to ensure that if those facilities are continued to be used in their previous form, that can be done safely. So.
Thank you.
Oh yes, Phil Sermon, Mount Resident. I'm really interested in the remediation work happening as soon as possible, and there's money involved in that, obviously. I note that there's two members of the current government in the room, and I'd really like to hear a response from them about their thoughts of how the government can expedite this work.
Bring it on. Thanks, Phil. Good evening, everyone. Sorry if I've got my back to you. I'm going to have my back to someone. I'm Tom Rutherford. My personal view, and I agree with the comments that have been made tonight, is this isn't just significant for us as a community, it's significant for us as a country. Almost everyone across New Zealand has some sort of linkage to Mount Maunganui. It's a draw card for our community. And so I give you my watertight commitment that as a local representative, I am rattling the cage to say central government needs to come to the party to support our Tauranga City Council to say this is not a significant event and an investment just for our community, but for our entire country. So you've got my watertight guarantee that I'm going into bat for all of us. And then I've actually got a question afterwards.
And so did I, and thank you very much, Tom.
Recorded that too, Tom.
Watertight guarantee. Kia ora everybody, I'm Cameron Luxton, local Member of Parliament, ACT Party. I've taken an interest in this obviously because I feel like there has actually been a lack of communication, and it's been recognised tonight by the Council, and can I just actually congratulate the Council on being so open and wanting to be honest. As Tom has said, this is an important part not just for the people of Mauao, Mount Maunganui, the wider Bay of Plenty, but the entire country. And the reason for that is this is what's driving a large amount of tourism to our area. There has been a narrative that has developed across the country that Tauranga is not open for business, that Mount Maunganui is not open for business. We need to change that narrative. The way we do that is with clear communication, providing certainty for businesses, but also communicating to the country, to the world, that Mount Maunganui is actually open for business. Now, the question that I would like to ask, if I may, well, I have the mic before Tom gets a question in there. The question is about risk tolerance. There's been a whole lot of conversation about risk broadly. There were some numbers thrown around at the start of 1 in 100,000 or 1 in a million chance of something happening. I'd like to know what we can do as members of Parliament to actually get some direction from WorkSafe or any other regulating agency that you need. Have you been in conversation with WorkSafe on what risk appetite you are able to take up without anything falling on you? Exactly, good luck. Hence why we need to be reforming these things. So, question to you, what is going on with your risk appetite? What can we actually get towards?
Thank you. I'm just going to pull things back to where they should be, because now we've got people answering questions, asking questions, but that's it. But I don't know whether you were planted in the audience tonight, but thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. But no, I'm going to let this roll, because I will make one comment that, you know, best thing for us is to sit in a room with these guys, but we'll let them ask us questions in public, because now you can all hear. So I'm going to let Marty, I think, answer their first question, and then I'm going to let Tom have his question. And I know there's some other people in the crowd that do have questions as well.
Okay, whose question am I answering? So, yeah, okay. So there's no national standard for this. And I think probably there are just a handful of tools that not only councils but private landowners have to use and apply. So the one that we're going to use to assess and determine and support the decision making for the long-term use of those facilities is the QLRA process, Quantitative Land Risk Assessment. Now, it's policy, or it's a process used by the Australian geomechanics. So it's actually an Australian standard, but it has international standing. I guess the question, what could government do, is they could, I guess, acknowledge the fact that landslides and these types of events are becoming more common across the country. Flooding, obviously, there's a lot of hazard information available across the country in relation to flooding and those types of events, but landslide is becoming more and more a common event, and I think statistics would tell us that the risk to life through landslides is far greater than it is through flooding. So application of a national standard or introduction, I think, would be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, I just answer the question on risk. As I said in my speech, I don't ever want to go through a situation that we went through in January. We have a TARP, which is created by the geotech engineers. They have a line that says if you're on the side of a line, it is unsafe. Obviously, as the information happens, more information comes to light, that gets more accurate. So initially, the surf club was within the landslide runout. As we had more events and they understood the geography and geology of it more, that line came back, and that's the same on Adams Ave, where exactly that line is. So, as a governor and around risk, at the moment the information that I have is, there is a line, and if you're on the Mauao side of that line, it is unsafe, and if you're on the other side of the line, you're fairly safe. So, I'm not going to make a decision and go against that advice, and then have something happen, and then it's very much on us as governors. So that's the understanding. But that's, we're catching up with the engineer on Monday, and these are the sort of questions that we need to answer, get answered and understand. Like on a day like today, would we be safe to use the boat ramp? Is it only when there's a lot of rain that's unsafe, or could, I think the two things is rainfall and earthquakes. So, that's the real trigger events that potentially could bring a landslide on, but we need to understand that more before we can make those decisions. So, look, if we get the right answers and they say, yeah, on a perfect, sunny day, you'd be safe to use the boat ramp even though it's within the TARP, then that would certainly sway my view to move and open some of those things. But if they say you need to put this mitigation in place, and once you do that, then we feel it's safe, the bunding on Adams Ave, then that's the advice we're going to follow. But, I think there's been some criticism around what we did and didn't do. We're going to get a review to tell us whether that was right or wrong. But I can tell you, if we went against the advice we had and we lost more lives, there would be consequences, and you guys would be the first to come to us and say, look, you had that information and you didn't act on it. So, that's the balance we're trying to play. But, there will be a time where we have to start making decisions, and I think, there is a discussion across the country around, analysing risk and understanding risk. And, you've got to put that in context, right? So you drive in your car to the mount, you're probably more likely to get killed than actually walking up the mount. That's just the quantitative risk that there is. 700 people a year die in their cars, and only 10 or so probably in the natural disaster sort of event. So that's what we've got to understand though, and when we have the information to guide us on that, and we're confident, then we certainly will open things up.
Thank you. Over to you.
Mine's a really quick question. One of the things we haven't had discussed tonight is the way that you are going to remember those that lost their lives through some sort of memorial or some sort. Obviously, the reopening of the Mount is really, really important, but also remembering those who tragically died on that day. What considerations being taken in that space, please?
I'm going to hand that one over to Jen, who's going to...
That's a lovely question, and we don't know yet. It's something that we do want community help with, and of course we will talk to the families about it. The last message to the families last week from the Mayor talked about the fact that we need to talk to them about what they would like. The Mauao Trust will be very involved in that, and the community needs to be involved because it impacted all of us. So it's not urgent question, but even when we were talking about the bunding, are we calling it, today, which is a mound that can be a grass mound instead of the containers, we said, well, what does that mean for any memorial that we might have? How do we make sure we are considering that? So it's absolutely something on our minds, and I'm sure, and I've actually already had some people saying, you know, can we do this or can we do that? And I've had a discussion with Emily to say, what is it that's going to be right for the families who lost their loved ones and this community who mourned and will continue to mourn those people who are lost.
I thought I'd just mention the fact that we have soil, I don't want to use the word contaminated, but was the soil where most of the tupapaku, which is what we call the deceased people, were found. There were 6 of them, and there were like 16 cars that took them away to the coroner. And so the soil that's still there, and some of the soil that went out to the airport, because we found 2 tupapaku out at the airport in that soil. Now that soil we've suggested has to come back to Mauao. And what we're thinking about is if we are bunding, that we use that soil, especially the tapu soil, to create some sort of memorial. We haven't discussed that at all at length, or at all in some circles, but in our trust discussions, I brought up that we actually have a policy for the reserve itself, that we don't have memorials there. But I think in terms of the campground, it isn't on our reserve, and our suggestion would be that utilising that soil in some way to create something beautiful for those people that passed should be something that's considered.
I see 3 hands, and I might be going to make those 4 hands, 5 hands. I'm going to just conscious of time. Hopefully they are pretty quick questions. I do want everybody, so I think we've got about 5 or 6, but that's going to be it, and we'll have a cup of tea, and there's going to be plenty of other time to chat there. So we'll start over this side here. Oh, we didn't see that one either, so that's the next one.
Right,
yeah, there you go.
I'm a bit short. Bill Caramagin, my first association with the Mount was in the mid-1950s when I climbed it up, probably barefoot, straight up from about where the boat ramp was, through the scrub. I didn't know any other way. But the main thing I want to say is the things you've heard today are the society we've inherited, extremely risk averse. I wouldn't want to be a councillor. We've heard what Mahi said, and I fully support that. And it's even worse if you're the geotech guy that said, oh, it's okay, and then next day somebody gets killed, because everybody then turns around and blames them and sues them. Back to the 2 MPs, I think one of the best things you can do is take away the responsibility of councils and the like, where you close a track, and if people breach the barrier, that's their fault. You don't need, how much have you spent on security? You don't need to answer the question. There's been people there a long time. But you should be able to close something and not get the consequences from all the relatives and all the rest of it.
Kia ora. I'm going to take that just as some really good thank you, Bill. I'm going to take that as really good feedback. I don't think that warrants an answer because it's a really good recommendation. Yep, keep moving.
I'm Michael O'Neill, local resident. The Mount has a history of finding solutions, and my question to you, Mahi and Jen, you talk of getting feedback from your community and in respect to what's going to happen to the campground. How do you intend to manage getting that feedback?
Look, that's what we're sort of dealing with at the moment, trying to understand how we're doing it. Obviously, we've got a team here as well, and we're looking at all those options. Is it a pop-up at the Mount? Is it we've had a petition and a presentation to council around a community forum to come together and help make decisions. So that's what we're grappling with at the moment. I don't have a direct answer to you because we haven't found the solution, but we certainly want that input and help with there's a whole lot of different decisions that will have to be made over the next few months, as well as a lot of work to be done to remediate.
Thank you, Mahe. Yes.
Hi, my name is Curtis. I've lived at the Mount for 25 years. My question is, you're trying to access the summit. Probably more than half of the people use the base track. Is there even a third of that could be accessed, even if it was out and back, so that the people that can't go up the top can use the bottom?
You wouldn't have a very long walk. If you know where Waipachukaka is, that's the first spring. There's a few small slips along the base track leading to there, but once you go past there are actually tomo, which are where the springs came squirting out. When we were there were two springs squirting out of the hillside itself. One had clear water, one had brown water. And we didn't think too much about that until after we came back and thought we were probably silly carrying on our journey around to check the other slips. There was also a crack in the track itself leading up to that most recent slip where the Pohutukawa tree fell down on the eastern side, just before you get to Tongaroa. And then as you go around, the other two springs have not huge slips, but they are slips that sort of covered the track. And then you get around and then you've got the tracks that are just being taken away by 4 or 5 big slips on that side. And then when you come back to the northern side, there's 1, 2, at least 3 big slips there, might be more than that. You'd probably basically be just walking from where you used to enter, where the stairs were, because that's all gone, and it's not a safe place to be walking through without somebody that knows what they're doing. And you'd walk from there basically around to where the jetty is, and then have to come back again, just for safety's sake. The small slips that are along the road probably can be remediated pretty quickly, but those other ones are going to take a little bit more planning to make them safe again. So, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get much of a walk.
And just reinforcing Jack and doing that walk, the logistics of getting to those places to repair them are much harder because there's only one track in. So as we start repairing the track, we're going to need access, and you're probably going to go around one way and then the other way as you do it. So it's going to close. It's going to be a bit of a logistical challenge as well. Got one here. How many more we got? 1, 2. Ooh, okay. You might miss out on those biscuits.
Thanks. My name is Grant Florence. I've lived in the Mount for 12 or 13 years. I'm not quite sure whether I'm deemed a local yet, but I'm working on it. I have 2 quick questions. One is the QRA. When was that commissioned? Mayor, you mentioned it was due back in July, so I'd like to know when it was first commissioned to be done. Secondly, there are a number of investigations underway, and obviously there's a swirl of liability coming out of those. The central government one is not due back until December. What is the likelihood that any any reopening of the base track will be impacted by the findings of that inquiry.
Yeah, I might hand to staff around the QLRA. We started looking at it in March, I believe, and I'm not sure exactly when it was actually put into final sign off. On the yes, we if we can open the base track, the inquiry won't be the thing that holds us up. As I say, we've got our review coming mid-year from Paul Davison that will certainly talk about what we're doing. We'll have our QLRA by hopefully July. So we'll have all that information, and we certainly won't be waiting for the government inquiry to make those decisions. But we will act quickly on any recommendations that Paul makes because it is around keeping things safe, and if there's things that we can do better or things that we need to change, we'll certainly make those changes. But I might just hand over to the staff around the QLRA.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So initial discussions on that process started about 6 or 7 weeks ago. We're working directly with Tonkin Taylor on that, and so WSP have been doing all the monitoring and all the previous reports on that, and so it was working with WSP and Tonkin Taylor to ensure that there wasn't double up, and also a professor from Dunedin University who will peer review that process. So I think the contract for works was formally signed probably about 3 weeks ago, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it took about a month to get the scope of it right, to get the players right, to make sure there was no double up between the two geotech companies, and to make sure that we had the right peer review process in place.
Thank you.
Okay, keep moving, just keep firing away. Yeah, back there.
I have the mic. Hi, Teresa Nichols. I've been in the Mount for 18 years. I have 2 follow-up questions, clarity questions. I attended last week's meeting as well for the business community, so I have 2 questions. One, in the past 100 days, we've burned through $2.5 million. So I'm wondering how much is remaining in the emergency fund, and when you have exhausted the emergency fund, where's the remaining money going to go? Because I understood last week's guesstimate. I'm using guesstimate. I realize the reports are still underway. We're looking at least a minimum of $8 million. So that's my first follow-up question. My second follow-up question is also from last week. I left with the understanding that the boat ramp would not be reopened because that will be the staging area for the construction and the equipment. So to clarify on that. Thank you.
Yeah, the boat ramp, I believe, is we've got to look at where the staging, etc., happens, but that will try to be managed to do both if possible. Obviously, if we can't do it, during the week, it might be that it's open on weekends, etc. So we will look at that. We also do have the campground, and depending on the geotech advice, there is potential to stage in that area as well. So, it's just trying to understand that risk. But we will try to open the boat ramp if we can. If it's not going to really play havoc with what's happening and trucks coming and going, etc. So we'll try to manage that. On the reserve, I think it's 5 million. There's another $1 million due to go into it, and so that will be about 6 million of that will be covered by that. What that does is that's money that's been contributed by rates over the years. So it means it doesn't have a direct impact on rates. Because it's already been paid for by rates, and it's reserve sitting there for events like this, so there's not a sudden shock to the rates bill. So we're out with our annual plan at the moment, and we'll be having a number of events around that to see where we get to. But I think the headline numbers are looking at about a 7.5% rates increase next year.
Next.
That's already taken into account. So I think we were about 10.9% in the long-term plan was the expected rates increase this year. We've got that down to 7.5%. Obviously, there's a lot of global uncertainty at the moment, with what's happening. There's the recovery at Mauao, but we're working very hard to try to keep that there. We've had to make a few cuts across, and you'll start to see as we consult, or we go out and show you what those information is. You'll see some of the where those cuts have come, and we're looking for feedback at these engagement events that we're doing. So.
Cool. Thank you, mate. How many more we got? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Yep.
Hi. Freddie Bind. I've been a resident of the Mount for probably 10 years or so. My question isn't so much about the recovery, but the foremost question in my mind is that 6 people died, and from what I can see, they were failed by a number of groups or entities. And the key word for me is accountability. And I would really like to see a far more speedy report about identifying what factors failed in this tragic situation, and some sort of interim report so that we can have some idea of what went wrong. Because at this stage, there is just a great abyss of nothing at all. And I understand because of confidentiality and the reviews going ahead, there will be a difficult thing to do. But I think those people and the families deserve some insight of what tragically went wrong that day. And we haven't got it. And we're going to have to wait 12 months for it, which I think is unacceptable.
No, we won't have to wait 12 months, and that is probably the exact reason that the councillors and myself supported doing our own review, because we could get the results a lot faster. We had our terms of reference out and public a week after the bodies were recovered, and that was before the government even announced that they were going to do an inquiry. We're very supportive of WorkSafe and the police and the government inquiry. That's going to be coming out in about December. We should have our draft report by June. So that is in reviews and inquiries. I can tell you that is a very rapid assessment, and I think probably a lot of people were surprised how quickly that is. I know that feels like a long time, but we wanted to know as soon as we possibly could, so that we can have that accountability. We can understand the processes that we need to change as a council, because as I said, I never want to be in that situation again, dealing with a similar situation to what we did on the 22nd of January and since. So that's that's agreed by all the elected members. We're all on board, and we'll certainly be making that report public, so you guys can see, and that's why we've proactively gone and released all the information. So you'll find on there, you'll find all the geotech reports. You'll know what they say. You'll know there's one of those geotech reports that says you should have a tarp in place. That's all public information at the moment, and we now have a tarp in place. But that's what the report is going to come back to us and tell us all those things. It's going to give us a very factual exactly what happened when, and the decisions that were or weren't made, and the information that we had at the time. So we have a lot of confidence in Paul Davison. He's a KC. He's an ex Supreme Court judge. So he will certainly get to the bottom. He helped around Erebus and actually clearing the pilots and working for the families around the Royal Commission of Inquiry. So he is very experienced in this, and we'll certainly be taking his suggestions on board.
Cool, thank you, mate. Last question, I think, on your right, and then the last one at the back.
Yeah, hi, my name's Brian. Everyone's been looking backwards, what's been happening and stuff. Next year we've got an international triathlon apparently here, and I'm just wondering, over the summer months we always have a lot of triathlons and bits and pieces, and is the infrastructure going to be set up to use the mount again, or is it all going to be changed?
No, we are very much trying to get the message across. We are open for business. We'll certainly work to those timeframes. We want to see events. We're very supportive of events. You'll be a great friend of Kev, Herb Schuler. He's continually saying we need to start looking forward more. And Charlie, our recovery manager, very much is on board with that, about looking at the future and where we need to go rather than going back. I guess we have had a very big focus tonight on what has happened because I think that's what we haven't communicated, but we certainly want to start communicating as to where we're going. But I guess the message is we are very much open for business. We want events, we want people to live as normal as we can, and we'll start to get back to normality around the parts that we can open. Obviously by next year we'd hope to have the tracks open. We'd hope to have decisions on what's happening with the hot pool and the campground, and certainly have some mitigations in place at the very least around what happens to Adams Ave, so they could use that for the triathlon. We had the Mara triathlon in March that Jen, myself and Rod competed in, so it wasn't ideal because at that time the tarp got triggered, and so Adams Ave was closed, and so but they found a different route so that event could go ahead. We had the secondary schools triathlon happening the weekend that we had another one of our big rain warnings, and again we did everything we could to make that happen. It was a very miserable day. I think the organisers ended up cancelling the bike because of the wind and the danger, but again all the athletes that had competed and come to our city got to compete, and they were very thankful for us as a council enabling that to happen. So we certainly see the benefit and what that brings into our economy, etc. So we certainly want to get back to normal, and yes, you're right, we've got World Triathlon for the next 3 years, culminating in 2028 when we have the World Championship series here. So it's a pretty exciting time for the city and a big event that's coming.
Last one, I think, at the back. Yep.
Hi, Valerie Steele, Mount resident. We just talked a little bit about boundaries earlier on, and I'd just like clarification, a quick one. Who actually owns the land that the surf club sits on, the camping ground, the hot pools, and the boat ramp place?
It's all owned by Tauranga City Council. The surf club it's leased to them. BVL they run the hot pools on our behalf. So that's sort of the management, and the boat ramp is obviously public road.
Thank you, mate. All right, we've exhausted all of our questions, and you got one more question? No. We'll have we'll have that question over the cup of tea. I think everyone has had a good go. A couple of things before we do wind up. Thank you for your time. I said 3 things. One, hopefully you're going to leave with a lot more knowledge of when you came in here. What the information you've come is first hand. Some of that stuff is evolving. Some of those things we were just talking about with the bond was this afternoon. So it's a really evolving situation that we are working in, and it's obviously unprecedented for anybody to be in this situation. But what you've heard is pretty much the latest information. So hopefully you've got more, and you've heard that we want to open it as quickly as possible, but safety is paramount. Heard the Mauao Trust are supportive of that as well. So but there are obviously certain things that we've got to work through. You've heard that likelihood of the summit opening much before the base, but then there's some practical. And we have probably heard also that if we as a community can do it together, then we're going to be in better shape going forward. The second thing that I needed to do was keep it on time, so I failed on that one, but I take half the thing because I started the job halfway through, so I'd get a half a tick for that one. And the third thing is what's next. Lots of questions and lots of information. And I didn't see the video last week, but I thought it was the video that actually was going all around the mountain. So there is a video that it goes right in, and we'll make sure that is available. There's a lot of questions that were asked. We'll make sure that information is available. I think we've got the message that our comms need to improve, and so there will be certain things like these that we need to continue doing. And as there's nothing to update, at least tell you, because when nothing's been told, people fill in the gaps, and we want to fill in the gaps on your behalf. So before I'm going to hand over to our new recovery manager, Charlie, who will close us, but he might also offer some observations, and I think the point is about where to looking forward into the future. Kei a koe, Charlie.
Kia ora again. Yes, as Hemi have said, my name is Charlie Rahari. I too grew up here in Tauranga, born and bred in Tauranga, and my family have lived here for 600 years. But I've for the last 20 years I've spent my time in the public sector, based in Wellington, working for central government. My background is in Crown Māori relationships, and I think that's a key skill that's vital as the city moves towards some semblance of normality and recovery. For the past 6 years I've been based inside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and as a senior political advisor and a policy advisor on foreign policy, and have seen the impacts of disasters around the world and tragedy, and so can bring some of that insight into this role about how we move into recovery. I've been in the role for 3 weeks now, and have seen enough and have heard enough. I just want to underscore what was said tonight, that I'm keen for my team to operate in 3 key areas. Communications, we've heard that. We heard that 2 weeks ago, we've heard that tonight. And as Hemi said, if people are in the dark, it's human nature to create stories about the little sounds you hear. And so we know that's been happening, so the more facts we can get out into our community, the better. And we're going to employ a lot of different mechanisms in order to do that. So I can give you my assurance that that is one of the primary intentions of this unit, our recovery unit, to get comms out to our community. The second one is consultation, and I heard that tonight, and how I see it and how we see it as a team is that Mauao means different things to different people. If we looked at the consultation from a lens of in 3 ways, Mauao is an economic driver. We know that, we've heard that. So consultation around the economic resilience and recovery of the city is hugely important. The second part, Mauao has a mauri and a life force. And those of you who were at Coronation Park when we had the memorial service during the tragedy will remember that I was the MC, and that night I saw that life force doesn't only mean something to us as Māori, it means something for the wider community, and the entire community feels that deep connection to the mountain. And so that's the second part. The third part is Mauao is a pinnacle for those lifestyle choices. So people go to Mauao for their mental health, people go to Mauao for their exercise, people go to Mauao to connect with families. And so those are the 3 streams that we're keen to come out and hear from the community about how we might do things differently. We have an opportunity to do things differently, and to reshape how we care for, how we protect, and how we utilise our mountain, not just Mauao, but Mangatoa and the others around our area as well. So I guess our key aim is to return the city to some state of normality. Like you, I have a passion for the city. I'm not going to end with a karakia. What I'm going to do is end with a poem that my son wrote when he was 9. And I think this resonates with everyone, will resonate with everyone here tonight. I'm here if you need to ask me any questions as well. Hoki kia o maunga, kia puria e koe ngā hau o Tāwhiri Mātia. Return to your ancestral mountain to be cleansed by the winds of Tāwhiri Mātia. I stand on my mountain, I feel his breeze, I hear his voice in the whispering trees. I ask my mountain, what do you see? And here's what my mountain said to me. I'm older than time, my skin is now stone. I stand as a beacon, but I stand alone. I once loved another, but our love could not be, so here I am on the edge of the sea. Caught by the dawn, for I saw the light, my sadness is gone, I'm a symbol of might. I'm not just a mountain, my child, understand, I am your history, your place to stand. I knew your ancestors and those that descend, I am your mountain, I am your friend. So now I know, now I see, my mountain has a life force, I am my mountain, and my mountain is me. And I leave those words with you tonight because we're all here for the same purpose, to protect our mountain, to rejuvenate our city, and to return Tauranga City in its entirety, Tauranga Moana, to the place it was, and that we all know, and for those who have recently moved here, the reason you moved here. Nō reira, kia hotu, kia tātou katoa, tēnā koutou. Please stay for a cup of tea. I spent a lot of money on those Subway biscuits, so eat them. But
Check that all the councillors brought biscuits, please.
yeah, and just checking that all the councillors bought biscuits. Please, thank you for taking the time to come out tonight. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your understanding. Look forward to engaging you when we do come out to the community for engagement sessions on what building our city back looks like to you. Kia ora.